So here we go. I'm just going to give you a little exercise to do before we start. Metta is friendliness. So the idea with this is that the basic response we have to a good friend of wishing them well is a response that sometimes we have for everybody. When we're feeling in a really good mood, and we find that even people who are usually quite awkward, we feel quite well disposed towards them. And maybe also you hear something on the news about somebody who's had a tragedy and you feel a lot of sympathy and you really hope things go well for them. So that is metta. That's what metta means, when we have that basic response of wishing the best for other people. And according to Buddhism, there is no limit to that response. It's not that we have to ration it because we've only got a little bit for our best friends. According to Buddhism, you can actually have that response for everybody. And when it's with people who are having difficulties, it turns into compassion. So you've got that basic response for everybody. So I hope it feels like a nice idea to strengthen that response so that it is more available for more people. I hope that seems like a nice thing. It is actually a nice thing. It's not just like a moral thing. It's also actually really nice to be in that kind of mood where you feel a lot of well-wishing for other people. I hope you agree with that. So what I want you to try as an exercise now is to make contact with that mood by just for a couple of minutes bringing to mind a good friend whose company you really enjoy and who you really want to do well. And you could do this how you like, but I've got a little suggestion as to how you could do it, which is that they've just done an exam and they're waiting for the results of the exam, and you're with them, and it's going to come through on their computer soon, the result, and you're sort of a little bit nervous on their behalf. Are they going to do well or not? And then you imagine you're sort of feeling, you're wishing them the best for their exam result, and then it comes through and they've done really well, and you think, oh yeah, you deserve it, come on, I'm going to buy you a meal, all that kind of thing, yeah? So this is just for 2 or 3 minutes, thinking of the good friend, and if you want to, you can use that particular method for contacting your well-wishing. So metta for a good friend. And if you feel pleasure in bringing them to mind and remembering your connection with them, then that's really great. That's a good sign if you can just enjoy your friendship, enjoy your connection with that person. So that was just a very brief sample of it. What effect did that have? Do you feel any different through that little exercise? Any one or two nods? Any comments? Was it easy to do, or did your mind wander, or?
Yeah, my mind wandered. I got caught up in the story of I was using a real life example, and then I started worrying about what if they didn't get it.
What if they didn't get it? Yeah. Yes, so someone in the room's commenting. I'll just repeat that because people can't actually hear online. That you start worrying, what if they didn't get the exam result? Then you worry about them, don't you? Yeah. But that, in a way, the fact that you're concerned is a sign of that well-wishing, isn't it? But in this case, we try to focus on a powerful sense of well-wishing. I really hope you do well. Thank you. Yeah. Any other comments? Yes.
I would say I found it easy to conjure up, but not easy to stabilize it and sort of keep the same. I feel like I would then think about something else or think about a different facet of, am I feeling it now?
Yeah. Yeah, so hard to stabilize it. Easy to conjure it up initially, but hard to stabilize it. And in a way, that's probably a good comment on meditation in general, that if you're doing mindfulness of breathing, it's easy to focus on the breath, but it's hard to stay with the breath, because our minds are so active and they dance around. And don't give yourself a hard time about that. Having an active mind is a wonderful thing, but we're just training the mind to be a little bit more focused in all kinds of meditation. And the only method of doing that is to come back as soon as you notice. So just to be very, very conscious of what it is you're coming back to. And in this case, it's the person and your feeling of connection with them. That as one thing, in a way, if that makes sense. That's what you're coming back to. And you can use methods like a little fantasy, like I mentioned, or you can use words. So that when the Buddha taught this meditation, the words he suggested that you use were, when you're thinking of your friend, may you be happy and feel secure. May you be happy and feel secure. And there were some others as well, but which you can think up your own if you like. But that's a nice little phrase you can use. Sometimes we even recite it in Pali, Sabbe Sata Sukhi Hontu, may all beings be happy. Sabbe Sata Sukhi Hontu. But yeah, thanks for making that point. And that's all I'm saying, just come back to it. And what we're going to do, we will spend longer on each person, so you will find your mind wandering. So be very patient with yourself, but also be quite disciplined and just say, yeah, okay, put that on one side. So you can maybe, last week we had a very, very good meditation teacher here, Vajradhaka, and if anyone heard him, you'll know he went into a few tips for meditation, but one of them was what happens when you get distracted. And you can either say simply to yourself, not now, because it may be very important, it's good to talk about it. And if it's something really crucial that's suddenly come to mind, you may just give yourself a little promise, I will come back to that later. But the not now is often enough. Because it's not saying there's anything wrong with what you're thinking about, it's just at the moment you're doing something different. Yeah. Any other questions?
I found it difficult to think about it in abstract terms, so I was just thinking about my friends recently who have got quite good results and they're going to you and stuff. But I found it hard to stick to one person as well.
Yeah, so hard to think about it in abstract terms, but easier to think about actual friends who had passed exams recently. But also hard to stick to one person, you're saying. And I think that's another discipline thing. It is very tempting. You could do that. You could just let the mind go from person to person as if you were sort of flicking through different people on your Facebook account or something like that. But in this case, see if you can just stick with the one person and that little bit of discipline. And you can always choose the others next time. It's not that you're leaving them out. You can choose them next time. Just a suggestion. So what we're going to do in this meditation is we're going to choose 4 different people to conjure up this friendliness towards. So we've already mentioned the good friend, and ideally the good friend should be somebody in your age group, somebody who's still alive, and somebody you don't feel romantic or sexual feelings for, so you don't get into all that side of things, which is great, but it's not quite the same thing. And then also you think of a neutral person, So somebody who's a bit of a, not exactly a stranger, because they might be a neighbour or a work colleague or a relative, but they're not very big in your life. They're not a big person in your life. And then you think of a difficult person, someone who you've had a bit of problems with. Maybe usually it's okay, but at the moment you've got problems with them. Or a communication difficulty could be ranging from that to extreme problem with them. That's up to you what you want to risk trying for this one, because obviously that's quite a difficult one to ask you to do. So can you think of people for those three stages? The friend, a neutral person, and a difficult person. Let me know if you can't fill those categories, those roles. Okay. So if it was a superhero movie, you'd have the buddy, you'd have the stranger who turns up, and you'd have the villain. Maybe. But maybe that's not a very good example, I don't know. And then there's a fourth very important person, who is you. So it's really important to contact your well-wishing for yourself. Now, some people get into trouble with this, and I think it may be through making it a bit too complicated, because often we are a bit self-critical, and we can easily think, oh dear, I should do this, I should do that, or we feel a bit down, or something like that. But in this case, all we're doing is just reminding ourselves that we'd rather things go well than that they went badly. And was that true? I don't know about people online, but people in the room. Is it true that you would rather things went well than that they went badly? I'm so hoping it is. Sometimes people get so depressed that maybe they even wish harm on themselves, but that is, relatively unusual, I'm glad to say, but, that may happen. So in a way, you're just reminding yourself of that fact. But the thing about this meditation is you need to get in the mood somehow. You need to get in the mood where you're feeling expansive and you're feeling well-wishing. And so if in the first stage you feel a bit flat, when you're just trying to remind yourself, yeah, I do want the best for myself, then you can bring the friend in early, but you can remember that they want good things for you. So you receive their love in a way, or you receive their friendship in the first stage. And then in the second stage, you're sending it out to them. That's one technique of doing this. So I think that may be enough to say about it. I'll lead through the practice and remind you what we're doing. And then in the final stage, we're going to bring all of those four people to mind. And we're going to make sure that they're all included, that we're not sort of saying lots and lots of love for the friend, don't care much about the neutral person, and you, difficult person, go away, go away. We're just trying to see if we can keep them all there in our mind in that last stage, because the whole point of friendliness in this sense is that it doesn't pick and choose. It's expansive, it includes everybody. And so then we radiate it out, and you can do this, there are a number of ways of doing it. You can do it by category. You could think of all men and all women, you could think and all transgender people, you could think of all people who are who are English speaking and who speak other languages, the old and the young. Even the Buddha suggests, think of those who are alive, but think of those who are yet to be born in the future. So there are loads of ways you can do it in categories. You can also do it in directions. You can sort of think of yourself sitting here. If you are in North London, you can imagine going up north, through the whole country, up into Scotland, and right up to Iceland and Scandinavia and so on. And then you could go over to the east and go right across through London and through Kent and into the continent and so on, Or you can do it radiating it outwards and even do it place by place as you go around. So I'm sorry to give you so much choice. In some ways it's nice when you're being taught meditation just to be told, do this, do this, do this. But with this meditation, you need to find your own way into it with the Metabavina, loving kindness meditation. So any questions about how to do the meditation? And if there are any newcomers online, if they want to put something in the chat, then I hope I can hear that.
Or you can just press the reactions button and put your thumb up and I'll unmute you.
Yeah, if you do a thumb up, if you didn't hear that, if you do a thumb up, then Jenny can unmute you. Or you may be able to unmute yourself.
I think we're okay online. Everyone seems to be.
Okay, online, good. Thumb up from me. So I'm going to lead us into this in a physical way. Before we do the meditation proper, we're going to tune into our own body and see whether we can do that in the spirit of friendliness and cherishing, looking after ourselves. So in the same way as you might decide to, eat more healthily or go for a run, or really, go out for a dance or something like that, In the same way as you do that, just sort of have that feeling of, I really want to look after myself properly. And you feel that the body becomes aware of the love that it's receiving from you in a way, if that makes sense. But first of all, just settling down. Maybe adjusting your posture so that you feel comfortable but alert. And just breathing a bit more deliberately for a few breaths. Breathing in to bring wakefulness and life into your body. Breathing out to release tension and to let go. Now we start to bring a feeling of warmth and friendliness to our own body. If you've ever had a massage or you've been in a jacuzzi, you just have that sense of the body being pampered, of receiving the gift of touch. So you can do that with your own imagination, working your way up the body with the feet first. You don't need to even move them. You can just have a sense of the clothing on the feet touching the floor. Cherishing the feet and then the legs, the knees. If there's any stiffness or tension or pain, breathing into that as if you were soothing a child that's grazed its knee by placing your hands, in your imagination, placing your hands around that area. Warm and loving. And from the feet and legs to the buttocks and the hips. Genitals, filling those areas with a loving awareness, releasing on each out breath any tensions. From the buttocks up the back of the body, the spine. What I'm doing is letting my spine extend a little right to the top of the back of my head. And once it feels nicely balanced, just letting it go, but holding enough to keep upright. And then filling it with a loving awareness, the whole of the back. Sides of the body, and up to the shoulders, Shoulders often hold tension, especially if you've been a lot at a keyboard. So let them drop down and backwards as they relax. That relief, you don't have to do anything with them. They're having a little holiday now. And the arms and the hands. See if you can make your hands just lie there. Sometimes we clench a bit with the hands. See if you can allow them to lie there. Like the babes in the wood sleeping in a pile of leaves. From the hands to the belly, the abdomen, allowing it to rise and fall at will with your breath. And releasing any tension. Then the midriff and the chest. Can you feel the whole torso gently expanding and releasing like the surf on the beach? Natural, filled with life, held with love. And then the throat, and the face. As we do contact a little bit more of that friendliness for ourselves, we may find a little smile on the face, an open sense of expression. And thus we can naturally move into the first stage of the Metabavina, loving kindness in ourselves. May I be happy. May I feel secure. It may be enough just to say the words to yourself. Or choose your own phrase, like a little mantra in your mind. Remembering that you do want the best for yourself, and that is absolutely fine. All of us deserve a good life. Now calling to mind the good friend. May they be happy and feel secure. And you can use memories or imagine situations. Or just imagine that they're in the room with you and you're aware of them. A kind and friendly awareness. Now bring to mind a neutral person. Doesn't matter who you choose, but just not one of your close friends and not somebody you've got big difficulties with. Anybody else, a real person. May they be happy. may they feel secure. And it might help to imagine them singing and dancing, winning the 100 meters, in bliss, in nature, something like that. You can use your imagination. If your mind wanders, see if you can stay embodied. Come back into your body. See if you can find a sense of well-being, as in the first or second stage, and then call to mind the neutral person again. You might find that the metta comes from the very center of your chest, the heart center, not the heart as an organ, but the center there, the emotional center. And it emerges like rays of golden or ruby-colored light and touches the neutral person like a magic wand, helping them to cheer up, to cope with difficulty. Now the fourth stage, start by just settling, bringing your awareness into your body, remembering any well-being and well-wishing that you've already contacted, and then including in that even the difficult person. Put on one side your grievances or problems and just remember that they're a human being who can become happier, who can become more at peace. May they be happy. May they feel secure. You don't have to pretend you like them, but remember there are people who care for this person, at least I hope there are. So just wishing them well. So we begin the final stage by calling to mind all four people, ourselves, friend, neutral, difficult. And just making sure that none is excluded from the circle of metta. As if all of them were on a Zoom call, and we just want to make sure that no one is forgotten. Everyone is listened to, taken into account. And wished well. Including yourself. And then we let the friendliness, the well-wishing expand. And I'll let you do this in your own way. But gradually it's including more and more people, other living beings, animals, until it, in principle, includes everybody in the whole universe, all sentient beings. Sabbe sata sukhi hontu. May all beings everywhere be happy. You could imagine you were a lighthouse in the dark with a bright beam of loving kindness sweeping round, reaching to infinity in all directions, touching living beings, and imagine them becoming happier, becoming more contented, more at peace. And then for the last few minutes, just dwelling in an expansive sense, if you can. An inclusive feeling for all living beings, everybody in the world. No picking and choosing, just everybody. Good and the bad, the attractive and the unattractive, the interesting and the boring, the talented and the ordinary, everybody. Dwelling in expansive consciousness And emerge very gently and slowly from the meditation, getting used to your physicality, your body stretching, moving. There's no rush about opening your eyes.